You've been there, right? At a concert or a festival, and you feel that bass just hit you in the chest, so powerful it feels like it's shaking your whole body. That's a professional subwoofer doing its thing. Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at the incredible engineering that makes that feeling happen.
It's not just about having one giant speaker in a box. It's way more clever than that. It's about using physics, and there's a whole family of different designs, each with its own special secret. So let's dive in and explore the main families of Pro subs to really understand how they create that ground-shaking low end.
All right, to really get into the wild world of subwoofers, we've got to start with the most fundamental, the most common design out there. This is our baseline, the foundation that pretty much everything else is built on.
And here it is, the bass reflex, or as most people call it, a ported subwoofer. This is the absolute workhorse of the pro audio world. See that hole? That's the port, and it's the key to the whole thing. It cleverly captures the sound wave coming off the back of the speaker, flips it around, and pushes it out the front to team up with the forward sound. It just makes the bass bigger and fuller. You see these things absolutely everywhere. But here's where we hit our first big engineering problem. A bass reflex sub is great, it's super versatile, but what happens when you have a crowd of 50,000 people in a giant open field? You need a ridiculous amount of power to make them all feel the bass. This design just isn't efficient enough for that scale. So the question becomes, how do you get more sound from the same amount of power? Well, the answer is to use physics as your own personal amplifier. And that leads us to our next family of designs, the horn. This is where engineers got really clever, using acoustic principles to do most of the heavy lifting for them. The idea is pretty simple, right? A horn basically acts like an acoustic transformer. It makes the speaker incredibly efficient so it can produce a massive amount of sound pressure with very little power. But, and it's a big but, to reproduce those super low bass frequencies, that horn would need to be gigantic. We're talking 10 feet long, maybe even more. And, that's just not practical to haul around to shows. So, what did they do? The solution is just brilliant. The folded horn. Engineers figured out how to take that crazy 10-foot-long sound path and basically fold it up like a maze inside a cabinet you can actually manage. So you get all the power and all the efficiency of a massive horn, but in a box you can actually fit in a truck. Now, this horn family has a few cool variations. There's the front-loaded horn, which is awesome for throwing sound over really long distances. But then there's the scoop, or a rear-loaded horn. This is where the back of the speaker is loaded into the horn. It has this uniquely warm and powerful sound that became absolutely legendary in reggae and dub music. It's an iconic sound. Okay, so if folding a sound path is clever, our next step takes us to designs that almost seem to bend the rules of physics. We're talking about using long internal pipes and hidden chambers to create incredibly deep bass. Look at this, just a single fraction, a quarter. It doesn't look like much, does it? But let me tell you, this little number is one of the biggest secrets in modern subwoofer design. Understanding what this means unlocks a whole new level of deep, clean, and seriously powerful bass. This brings us to the resonance family. Designs like the tapped horn use something called quarter wave physics. What they do is tune the length of a long internal path inside the box to be exactly 1/4 of the wavelength of the bass note they want to be the loudest. It works almost exactly like an organ pipe, using resonance to create this incredibly deep and powerful bass from a box that is surprisingly compact for what it can do. All right, think about this. In all the designs we've seen so far, you can pretty much see the speaker cone moving back and forth. But what if you opened up a subwoofer and the speaker was just gone, completely hidden inside? What kind of sound would that even make? Welcome to the bandpass family. In these designs, the speaker itself, the driver, is literally buried inside the cabinet. It fires into these very precisely tuned chambers that then exit through one or more ports. The whole box acts like an acoustic filter, only letting a narrow band of frequencies pass through. The result is a really aggressive, thumpy, high-impact kind of sound. The only catch is, if they're not designed perfectly, they can sometimes sound a little bit one note. So what happens when you take all these different amazing ideas, the ported boxes, the horns, the quarter wave physics, and you just smash them all together into one design? Well, you get the hybrid family. These are the modern super subs designed to push the absolute limits of performance. On one side, you've got these wild designs like the Paraflex, which uses multiple quarter wave resonators all working at the same time to get this super wide and loud frequency response. And then on the other side, you've got things like the Cram,
which is a hyper-efficient hybrid horn that uses this crazy internal matrix to squeeze every last possible decibel of sound out of it. I mean, these are the Formula One cars of the subwoofer world, no question.
Okay, so up to this point, we've only been talking about what happens inside a single box. But here's where modern audio thinking takes a huge leap forward. It's not just about making loud bass anymore. Now it's about controlling where that bass actually goes. And that's the big difference between just designing a box and designing an entire system.
See, low frequencies, bass, they're notoriously hard to control. They're like water. They just want to spill everywhere. And they especially love to spill backwards onto the stage, which just muddies up the sound for the performers. So the final challenge here isn't just about power, it's about precision.
And this brings us to our final family, directional arrays. The most common one you'll see is the cardioid subarray, and it is pure genius. You take 2 or more subs, you physically turn one of them around to face backward, and then you use computer processing to add a tiny, super precise delay to that rear-facing sub. And the result? The sound waves actually cancel each other out behind the subs, creating this quiet zone on stage, while they add up perfectly in the front, focusing all that amazing bass energy right where you want it, on the audience.
So, this is where everything we've talked about really comes together. After seeing all these complex, incredible designs, you're probably asking the big question. Okay, so which one is the best? And the answer is, it totally depends on the job.
Think of it like a toolbox. A simple bass reflex sub is perfect for a versatile club system, but for a massive outdoor festival, you need the raw efficiency that only a folded horn can give you. If you want that super deep, powerful bass from a really small box, you grab a tapped horn. And if you're building a bleeding-edge custom PA system where money is no object, you might look at something insane like a cram or a Paraflex. Every design is a specific tool for a specific task.
And that's really the crucial point here. There is no single, perfect subwoofer. It's a myth. Every single design is a compromise. Engineers are in this constant balancing act between efficiency, size, sound quality, how low it can go, and how complex it is to build. The real magic is in choosing the right set of compromises for the job at hand.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. Now that you know the secrets behind the bass, think about those trade-offs. If you were the engineer designing a system, what would you prioritize? Would you go for raw power to hit the biggest crowd? Or maybe a compact size to make it easy to transport? Or is it all about getting the most accurate sound quality possible? It's a fascinating puzzle, and there's no single right answer.